Nearly 25 years ago, Porsche shocked the industry when they introduced their very first SUV to the world, the Cayenne, all the way back in late 2002. Now at the time, this vehicle angered a lot of traditional Porsche purists because it wasn't a sports car, but Porsche actually got the last laugh because this model became the company's best-selling vehicle globally with over 1.5 million units produced ever since it came out in 2003. Well, for 2027, we are seeing an all-new fourth generation, and Porsche is ready to usher in a new era because this is actually the introduction of the first ever fully electric version of the Cayenne, and the specs are pretty impressive. The turbo model offers nearly 1,200 horsepower from its dual electric motors, up to 350 miles of range, and the ability to DC fast charge this vehicle from 10 to 80% in under 16 minutes. So today we're actually out here in Glendale, California, because we're finally able to see the new Cayenne electric in the sheet metal. And now that we're doing so, let's go ahead and take a detailed first look. So we've known that Porsche has been working on a fully electric version of the Cayenne for a few years now. In fact, with the company kind of pushing forward into the electrification space with the Taycan, with the new Macan EV, there's a lot of influence from both of the vehicles now that we're seeing the new version in the sheet metal without all the camouflage that we've been seeing over the past few months. As you can see, this model that I'm showing you here is the top of the line turbo model painted in this new color called Mystic Green. We'll also show you a brief tour of the base version in a gray exterior color. But as you can see, now that we're finally seeing this car without all the camouflage, it certainly looks very instantly recognizable as a Porsche. In fact, I see a lot of influence here from, of course, the new Macan EV and, of course, the Taycan. But at the same time, I can also see a lot of the Cayenne DNA in the sheet metal. You can see it has that signature kind of dual bubbles there in the front of the hood of the vehicle. You've got the signature 4-point LED headlights. These are actually their matrix design with the optional HD matrix design. Again, it's a full LED headlight, which has 4 individual LEDs for the low and high beam. This lower area here you can see is unique to the turbo, where it has a little bit larger air intakes. And then as you can see with the front splitter here, there is that kind of air blades here, which we first saw on the new 911 Carrera GTS-T hybrid. This again allows for functional cooling to go, and it also has the ability to kind of close these active aero flaps that allow the vehicle to kind of get better aerodynamics, because as you guys know, with an EV, aerodynamics is everything. That's how you get the best range, the best performance. Porsche says with this slippery new body, you actually have a coefficient of drag of 0.25. If you guys are keeping score, the gas-powered Cayenne has a 0.35 coefficient of drag. So they've reduced the coefficient of drag by 0.1, which is pretty significant. It's why this vehicle was able to achieve up to 350 miles of range. But in terms of the cargo capacity underneath here, Porsches have always been known for having a front trunk storage space, and as you can see, that is still the case for the Cayenne electric. It offers up to 3.2 cubic feet of storage space, which is a very usable amount of space. As you can see, it goes in very deep. It's also well carpeted, and it also has a light and an emergency release in there. But since we're underneath here, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain specs, because this model that we're showing you here is the turbo version, which means it has up to 1,139 horsepower and 1,106 pound-feet of torque. That's right, you heard that right. Nearly 1,200 horsepower in this SUV, making it the most powerful production vehicle that Porsche has ever produced. Now, technically, you're only going to get that power when you have it in the launch control mode, but Porsche says all the time you'll get 844 horsepower, and then if you use the push-to-pass functionality on the steering wheel, which is a button, you'll add an extra 173 horsepower for 10 seconds. Now, of course, the 2 electric motors draw their power from a 113 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Porsche says this is running on the new PPE architecture, but the battery pack now has been kind of bolted onto the actual structure, so it allows them to kind of get better energy density and have tighter, I guess, connections with the vehicle, with the battery pack. It's a new battery pack. Porsche says it's a Porsche exclusive battery pack, and they claim up to 350 miles of range. This model should be a little bit less because it's the turbo version, which doesn't really mean it has a turbo, but that's how Porsche, talks about their most powerful model. Now, unlike the Taycan, this actually uses a 1-speed reduction gear transmission, so it's not the 2-speed unit, and that's because Porsche says they've applied some of their Formula E technology, racing technology, into the electric motors, where the rear electric motor is oil-cooled. It basically doesn't need or require that 2-speed gearbox to get the kind of performance they're looking for. Now, they claim this model is good for 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. If you're keeping score, the Cayenne Turbo GT, the current model, can do it in 3.1. So this is over a half a second faster. It'll reach a top speed of around 162 miles an hour, and this is still an SUV. Porsche says it'll tow up to 7,716 pounds. Now, they didn't have the final curb weight figures, but I would estimate that this model is probably a good 1,000, 1,500 pounds heavier than the gas-only Cayenne, so keep that in mind, because again, it has that big electric motor. which is going to be adding a considerable amount of weight. We'll talk about the power differences in the base version in a separate clip, but let's go ahead and close up the hood here, which technically you have to close it with 2 hands for those of you out there. Let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the styling for this vehicle, because being built on the PPE architecture, it basically is an all new generation. Porsche is calling this the 4th generation of the Cayenne, even though it's electric, but the company has confirmed that they will sell this vehicle alongside the ICE variants, which technically the ICE models are built on the previous generation, the current 3rd generation. Porsche says that's going to be the case for the next 10 years, and then at that point they'll reevaluate. They didn't say that the gas models are going away. This again will kind of sell alongside it. Now in terms of the dimensions, this vehicle is bigger versus the old model, with a 5-inch stretch in the wheelbase at 119 inches long, with an overall length of 196.7 inches. So this is around 2 inches longer in the overall length, but at the same time, I really love the basic shape of this car. It has that classic, SUV proportion. It's instantly recognizable as a Cayenne. There's a couple of styling details here I want to talk about. First of all, the wheels. These are the upgraded 22-inch wheels that you got on this model. Porsche says you can get a choice between a standard 20, a 21, or this upgraded 22. They're kind of in this really, it has a really unique kind of gray finish to it with the turbonite colors for the Porsche crest instead of the colored logo. That's unique to the turbo models. That's how you know you're looking at the turbo, when you have the uncolored Porsche crest. You can also get the option of their full carbon ceramic brakes on this model, on the turbo model only, but as you can see, this model, it looks like it just has the standard brakes. The tires are also massive, 285 by 40 R22 in the front, and even fatter 315 width at the back. So that Porsche actually says that tire width is the same size as like a 911 Carrera GT3 RS. So again, it shows the serious sporting potential of this car. You also get a new rear axle steering system, up to 5 degrees of rear turn with that vehicle, and all Cayenne electrics are going to come standard with the company's 4-corner air suspension with their PASM system. And on this model here, you can also, for the first time on a Porsche SUV, get their active ride control. That's basically allowing for individual hydraulics on each of the corners of the vehicle. It allows it to counteract any, lean when you're in the corners. It'll basically produce flat cornering. We've tested that system out in the Taycan or in the Audi e-tron GT, and it's a phenomenal system that really kind of defies the laws of physics. Now, as you probably noticed, there's kind of like a high gloss black paint finish around here along the wheel arch trim, along the side sill. Porsche says that's included on this trim. You can also get in like a gray finish. They will not offer it in a full paint finish, in case you're wondering. That's because they say it makes the proportions look a little bit, ballooned up, so that's why they wanted to kind of break that up here. In terms of the rest of the proportions here, you can see this is just like the squared off design. There could be a coupe version coming. They didn't want to confirm that at this time. Mirrors are obviously power folding. You have full 360 camera on the vehicle. There is kind of like this matte gray trim here, which I'm imagining Porsche will offer several different color options. You can kind of spec it out to your desire. And then as you can see, this model has that panoramic sunroof, and it also has their variable light control. So this is the first time that where you can get an opening panoramic sunroof with the variable light control, where it has that digital sunshade, which is a great feature to have. I think a lot of consumers were kind of asking for that, because previously you had to pick and choose between having an opening sunroof and that digital curtain. Now over here, you're going to find the charge port door. It is a power opening door, and there's technically 2 charge port doors. On this side, you're going to find the J1772. This is for AC charging, and this vehicle will allow for up to 11 kilowatts. That's where the onboard charger comes in. And on the other side, you're going to find, for the first time on a Porsche vehicle in North America, an NACS plug. Now that's where you're going to actually use that plug for DC charging, and this is where Porsche is going to offer basically best-in-class charging, because on a level, or on a 400 On a level 3 charger, a DC charger, this vehicle will accept up to 400 kilowatts, which will allow you to go from 10 to 80% in under 16 minutes. That's definitely the quickest time that I've ever seen in the industry, and it's certainly going to make this vehicle an easier car to road trip, because let's be honest here, how long does it really take you to stop and get fuel if you need to use the restroom? This car can basically charge itself to almost 80% in less time than it would take for you to actually stop at a rest stop. Now, coming over to the rear of the vehicle, you can see the design language here is all new. It's got some interesting features here. First of all, the rear spoiler, as you can see, doesn't look like much, but every model will have a deployable spoiler. So this is an active rear wing where it actually will pop up at certain speeds. You can also do it at the touch of a button. It also will function as an air curtain as well. When you're braking hard, it actually will kind of lift itself up to help with slowing the vehicle down. And it looks really good actually when the actual rear spoiler is deployed. You have your integrated third brake light there. There is still a rear window wiper, which is a nice touch. And I also appreciate the squared off design here. Again, they haven't confirmed that a coupe model is coming, but it's Porsche. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to come. As you can see, in terms of the rest of the design, it has a brand new, almost three-dimensional look to the LED lights that you're getting back here. So it's a full LED taillight design with LED turn signals. It's got that signature LED light bar, and it also has the illuminated Porsche badge back here, which kind of creates a three-dimensional effect. It certainly looks good, especially at night. It gives this car a very distinctive light signature that looks expensive, it looks premium, but it's also instantly recognizable as a Porsche. I actually think it looks kind of like just a taller version of the Taycan. The Taycan Cross Turismo and Sport Turismo, one of my favorite looking vehicles of all time. Now there is, again, a subtle little turbo badge here, but it's kind of a little silly to put a turbo badge on an EV, but again, that's how Porsche tells you it's the most powerful model that they offer. And then you can see down here at the rear fascia, you have more of that high gloss black with a more aggressive rear diffuser. And then this little area over here, this is actually exclusive to the turbo model. These are the active aero like fins or blades that actually pop out over 40 miles an hour, and Porsche says that they designed these to pop out because it essentially improves the aerodynamics and improves the range. The company is claiming up to 15 miles of additional range when these blades are popped out. Again, they pop out over 40 miles an hour. And I actually don't mind the way they look when they're out, but Porsche said this was necessary to improve the aerodynamics because they wanted to create this still kind of like squared off design. But again, for aerodynamic purposes, you need to have kind of that sloping roof, but to kind of compensate for that, they gave us those little aero blades there, which is a really interesting touch. It's very Porsche, of course. There's a lot of technology and thinking that goes into this brand. Now, looking at the cargo areas, you can see power liftgate is included, and the company actually already had cargo figures for us. You have up to 19.5 cubic feet of storage space with the back seat up. There's no third row on this vehicle, even though it's their largest SUV that they make. You can electrically fold those seats down, and you can also move them forward and back electrically, which is the first time that they're offering that, where you can again push this button over here and it should make the seats go down. As you can see, when you fold those seats down, Porsche says that it increases the cargo to up to 56 cubic feet of storage space. When you also factor in the additional 3.2 cubic feet, it really makes this vehicle a relatively practical car. I also love the fact that, even though this is, an SUV, you still have room where you can put this all the way up to the roof, which is a nice touch. And you can see there's also additional storage off to the side. If you look underneath here, you can see there's space for the cargo cover, and there's also additional storage underneath here. I don't see a temporary spare, which I'm imagining this car probably just comes with a fix-a-flat or run-flat tires. But overall, if you're planning to use this car as a family car, the Cayenne Electric is definitely going to offer more space versus its smaller siblings like the Macan EV or, of course, the Taycan, because it's just in general a bigger vehicle. Now, one of the more innovative new features for the Cayenne Electric is the introduction of inductive charging. So this is basically the idea of using wireless charging from your smartphone and applying it to your vehicle. So basically, once you have that set up, this car will actually show you on screens how to basically drive over a wireless charging pad that you'll be able to purchase from Porsche as a late availability. And once you basically set that up, you can drive over the pad and the car will tell you exactly where you need to stop. It actually shows you this specific location where you need to park the vehicle on top of the charging pad. And once it's actually over that, this vehicle will charge up to 11 kilowatts. It's basically as fast as plugging it into a level 2. We don't quite know yet how long it'll take to charge this vehicle from basically empty to full, but it doesn't actually require any contact, which is interesting. It uses an electromagnetic field. It tells you once you're actually over it, once you're actually charging the vehicle. And it's a feature that I never thought I would see on a production car, but it's really impressive to see Porsche offer it. Remember, it'll be a late availability. We don't have pricing yet on that charging pad, but it's something that I think a lot of owners are going to be interested, especially if you plan to park this thing in your garage overnight to charge all the time. So once you move past the exterior design of the all-new 2027 Cayenne Electric, the interior is really where Porsche spent a lot of time here into turning this almost into like this luxury, innovative technology lounge, especially if you guys really like tech, because this has the most screen real estate you're ever going to find. However, before we start talking about that, let me go ahead and mention the seats. So Porsche has new seats that are in the Cayenne Electric. These are the sports seats that you get. You can see they're in black, but Porsche will offer several different customizable interior colors. Remember, it's a Porsche, you can kind of customize it to your heart's content. These seats are also heated and ventilated. They adjust in 18 different ways with a 3-person memory on both the driver and the passenger side. And you also have a massage function available. This model that we're showing you is an early pre-production version, so I can't show you the massage, but Porsche says they've completely redesigned the massage chambers. And it also has a new vibration function. So I'll be looking forward to trying that out later on, because these massaging seats in some of these luxury cars have almost become almost as good, if not better, than your favorite massage chair in your living room. But getting inside the vehicle, as you can see, stepping in, it has a pretty nice, easy step-in height. Remember, this is an SUV. And then when I shut the door has that really solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the same PPE architecture. And of course, because it's a Cayenne, you don't even have to slam the door. You can kind of just click it and it has a soft close feature, although it doesn't have the automatic opening and closing doors like you might find from some super luxury rivals. Now, as you can see, here's the key fob for the vehicle. It's the signature Porsche key, which kind of looks like a car, although as you can see, it's got a slightly updated design. It's a little bit more streamlined. It also has the turbonite color for the non-colored Porsche crest. It has the typical buttons here where you can open up the front trunk, the rear hatch, and then lock and unlock, and then there's a panic feature on the back. Porsche also offers their phone as a key functionality. If you're an owner, you can also use your smartphone as the key to get in. That's, again, a tech feature that a lot of EV owners really prefer. Now, when you want to get in the vehicle, Porsche always puts the start-stop button on the other side, on the left side. So it's located over here right behind the steering wheel. And then when I want to start it up, you can see, just put your foot on the brake and that turns everything on. Now, as you can see with this interior, this is going to overwhelm you at first because you've never seen a Porsche with this amount of screen real estate. Of course, it has their latest software within the infotainment system, and it also has this new display here, which, as you can see, it's a curved display. They call it a flow display. It's a combination of 3 separate displays. So Porsche says the center display here is 12.3 inches, which is shocking to me, but I think they're only including this portion here where it's not curved. This screen over here is an OLED display as well. It's 14.25 inches, so this is bigger versus their current 12.9 inch display, which is also customizable. And then optionally will be a passenger display here, which is 14.9 inches. So it's almost 15 inches across. This is technically the biggest screen, but this right here is kind of the main focus because it is definitely wild to see a curved display. This reminds me of those foldable smartphones, which I don't have because I'm an Apple person, but it certainly is wild. We'll dive deeper into that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and talk about the materials really quick, because the door panel, as you can see, Porsche is also a luxury brand. It's covered in real leather with contrast stitch. You have some genuine carbon fiber here where you can actually feel the carbon fiber weave. There's also new ambient lighting in the vehicle. There's interactive ambient lighting where it also has the ambient lighting in the dashboard, as well as an interaction bar where, you know, it tells you messages. It also works with the ADAS system as well, which is kind of nice. You can see down here you have real leather, contrast stitching, padding, of course, where you'd rest your elbow. You have one touch up down for all 4 windows. And then this lower portion here in the door panel, as you can see, there's kind of a padded area in the lower portion with real leather stitching as well. It's kind of slightly rubberized on the inside of the door pocket. And this particular one that I'm showing you has the upgraded Burmester sound system with the metal speakers. If you're an audiophile, and this is also an EV, you're probably going to want that. Although Porsche did mention that this model also creates synthetic V8 sounds, which we'll have to wait until we actually drive the vehicle at some point to kind of try that out. But now coming back over to the steering wheel, you can see this is the newer Porsche steering wheel with the turbonite crest here, which again is not colored, which you can get on non-turbo versions of the car. You do have a power tilt telescoping mechanism, which Porsche has actually moved the control lever to the side as opposed to down here. The steering wheel itself feels really nice in your hands. It has really high quality leather. I love the Sport GT steering wheel with the kind of exposed screw heads. You have your drive mode selector here, of course, or you can also go into the screen to adjust the drive mode if you'd like as well. This screen here, as you can see, is interchangeable. You can also access some quick buttons here for your stability control off, your air suspension, your suspension as well for the damper control. And you also have this kind of little like camera here that watches your face. That's part of their ADAS system. Porsche is introducing their latest in hands-free driving, of course, in this vehicle. Now, of course, back to the center display here, because this right here is very trippy. When I first saw it in pictures, I was kind of like, I don't know if I like that, but sitting here in person, I have to say it is interesting, but I think it's also something that you will easily get used to very quickly. So as you can see, going back to the home display here, it has the car icon where you can actually kind of spin around the vehicle in a 3-dimensional view where you can kind of, you know, access whatever you'd like to access. That color actually matches the exterior of the car, and it also shows you all the different sources as you move around. The quality of the graphics and resolution is intense. It's really, really good. And then if you want, you can see the CarPlay, which I have my phone connected right now. That's the wireless Apple CarPlay connected, and you can also kind of bring this down and bring it full screen. So as you can see, when the CarPlay is full screen, it certainly looks weird how it curves down, but it also looks very high tech. And you can even, you know, pull up things like Google Maps, for example. The map quality will kind of go down into that lower portion where you kind of scroll around. This is really impressive, but Porsche basically says they've modeled this after, I guess, airplane cockpits, because in an airplane cockpit, basically you'll have, you know, kind of this area here where you can kind of rest your hand and, you know, control controls, and then this is the interaction screen. And they also have this little fairy pad here that they use where you can rest your hand, and that allows you to get a comfortable grip to kind of adjust a lot of the settings in here. So this is definitely weird at first, but it also works for me. You can see down in the lower portion here, you're gonna find your controls here for your heated and ventilated seats, which this pretty much stays put. You can also pull that up. You can find all your usual widgets and apps and whatnot where you can customize a few things. You can also pull up YouTube and watch videos and play video games in this car as well. So it's got all that usual high tech. There's also these knurled like switch gear here where it actually is metal. Porsche says they kept this because a lot of owners really appreciate the actual tactile control, so that's very important. You have an actual volume knob here, which is great, along with these touch sensitive buttons over here. And then as you can see on the passenger side, this is a 14.9-inch display. And it kind of mimics what you find over here on the center display. You can also go into these mood modes where if I want, I can switch to a dynamic mode. It actually will change the way the seat hugs me as well. The bolsters will kind of squeeze in a little bit more, and it makes everything in here red to kind of let you know you're trying to be sporty, you're trying to have fun. There's also like a relaxation mode. It also changes the ambient lighting color and also will change the music as well. So that's something that, again, a lot of EV buyers are looking for, that kind of, you know, ambiance here. And Porsche, again, likes to call it mood mode. And you can also kind of go into these like separate buttons over here. We can kind of pull up the GPS over here as well in case you don't want to pull it up over here. But what I like about this screen is the fact that the GPS can kind of take up this, you know, lower screen as well. So that's pretty cool. And it's the same Google Maps that you can see that you can pull up on your phone. So this is, again, a great feature that I think a lot of owners are going to be impressed about when you first get a chance to see it. Keep in mind, this passenger display is optional, so that's something that you're going to have to pay extra for. I imagine if you don't get the display, you'll kind of have just like a glossy black panel here, although I was hoping Porsche would offer like maybe some wood accents or some aluminum or carbon fiber accents as opposed to a big black panel, but it looks really cool when you have all the screens kind of together. Now, in terms of the dashboard, you can see there's beautiful real leather stitching on the upper portion, which is kind of carried over onto this lower portion with the contrast stitch. You can see there's stitching that goes across the center console, which is really nice. And then you can see the center console in general is very usable. It offers a lot of storage. First of all, there's this kind of lid that you can close up here, which is covered in carbon fiber. And you can also close this here to kind of create a closed off area. It also has this kind of interesting slip pad here where you can put some stuff, but the turbo badge is kind of embossed into the actual sliding armrest there. If you open this up, as you can see, it's a very deep center console area. You're going to find 4 USB-C charging ports. So 2 over here in case you want to connect your phone. There's your wireless phone charging pad over here. There's also these little straps where you can kind of put stuff in here. There's 2 more USB-Cs as well, along with a 12-volt power outlet. And then, as you can see, these cup holders are interesting because there's a little tab here. If I push this back, it actually allows me to pull this out. So if you need to clean this out, it gets dirty, for example, with, you know, dirty drinks, this is a great feature to have. There's also these little, like, I guess these little grip, like, pads here. It's not really pads, but it allows you to put several different size cups in here. And then what's cool about this is you can actually rotate this, and when you rotate it, it actually allows the cup holders to sit up a little higher as opposed to sitting so low. This actually allows you to, I guess, put mugs or drinks where you don't have to put it so deep down into the console area. But again, if you flip it around here, if you have a really tall water jug, this allows it to kind of sit very low in there, so you have the additional clearance. So again, that's a really nice functionality key here that typically the Germans don't do. So it's really great to see, you know, Porsche listening to us Americans complain about how they're crappy cup holders that usually German cars have. So obviously, as you can see, that is no longer the case. Now above me, as you can see, there's a panoramic sunroof, which is a fantastic feature. And it also, as you can see, opens up to vent air, which is something that you typically don't find in EVs. But the cool thing about this ambient or this panoramic sunroof is you can actually use their, you know, electrochromatic feature to kind of frost and defrost the settings here. So if I want, I can basically pull that up here. I can go to that and pull that off to the side, and it allows me to basically change the panoramic roof. So I can go to a bold. As you can see, it'll give you several different segments that change to let more light in. You can also go to like a semi there. You can also go to a matte rear. You can go to a matte front if the rear wants more light, or you can go to a complete matte, or you can open it up completely. So that's a great feature to have. This is probably going to be extra, but this is the first time we are seeing basically a panoramic opening sunroof with the actual, you know, digital light display. So that's a really cool feature as well. There's also nice headliner material here that's Alcantara, along with the typical high quality materials that you are finding in a vehicle of this price point. And then in terms of the glove box, you can see, open that up. It's a bin style, it's stamped and lined with felt. It offers even more additional storage in addition to the storage that you're going to find basically in this deep center console area. No additional storage here though. I was kind of expecting them to do something, but overall this interior is definitely overwhelming. I could probably do a separate video on its own just talking about all the tech, but this is a first look video. So let's go ahead and hop into the back seat area. I can show you guys what that space is like. Now, sadly, I don't have final legroom figures just yet, but Porsche says that with the increase in the wheelbase of 5 inches, they were able to add around 55 millimeters of additional legroom in this back seat. Now, the old model I wanted to estimate had like around 37 inches of legroom. This is definitely a big improvement, and the Cayenne, remember, is their biggest SUV, so you're going to have all that additional space. As you can see, getting back here, When I close the door, it also has that soft close feature. It has these power retractable shades, which right now they're not going to work because the car is turned off. But you have the same real leather, of course, back here. You have this door handle, which, as you can see, the door handle is kind of like functions as a digital latch system, which is kind of similar to some other EVs. You have more leather over here, which is nice. The legroom space, as you can see, is pretty good. Surprisingly, there's not a flat floor here, which kind of leads me to think that Porsche may eventually tweak this architecture to accommodate an internal combustion engine, because again, they haven't talked about whether the ICE powertrains will make it onto the new 4th generation. You do have rear seat air vents back here. You have the same knurled controls with that very satisfying click, along with 2 USB-C charging ports. If you fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders, and you also have, of course, the electric chairs, which are the back seat, which Porsche says these power seats are going to be standard. As you can see, I can move these seats forward and back, and when you move them forward, I have to admit, they actually move up a good amount. I mean, this legroom figure is going to be terrible, but it actually moves up pretty far forward to give more cargo space back there. And it kind of tells me that Porsche should consider doing a 3-row SUV, but that would be sacrilege. The enthusiasts would definitely be more upset with that. In terms of the headroom space, as you can see, I have 5'7". I have a solid maybe 3-4 inches of additional clearance. This glass roof, Porsche says the biggest glass roof they've ever done. It actually goes over to past my head back here as a 2nd row passenger. So overall, if you plan to use the new Cayenne Electric as a family vehicle, this backseat area is definitely going to be the most spacious you're ever going to find in a Porsche production vehicle. Now, in case nearly 1,200 horsepower is a little bit too much for you, Porsche is also going to offer a base version of the Cayenne Electric, and this is also honestly going to have enough power for like 90% of people who are going to be looking at the fully electric version of the Cayenne. Because underneath the hood here, you're going to find still 2 electric motors, one at the front, one at the rear. All-wheel drive is going to be standard. They still draw their power from that 113 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and Porsche says you get up to 402 horsepower, or 435 if you have it in its launch control mode, up to 615 pound-feet of torque. That combination is good for 0 to 60 in around 4.8 seconds with a top speed of 143 miles an hour versus 162 on the turbo version. This model will also tow up to 7,716 pounds. And remember, this is the version that'll go up to 350 miles of range. Those specs are honestly impressive, but again, I'm expecting Porsche to introduce an S version, maybe a GTS version sometime down the road. But right now, this is the base model. The turbo is the top of the line. In terms of the design, you can see the design is slightly different. The front fascia mainly is a lot less aggressive. These air intakes aren't quite as aggressive. You don't have that high gloss black. Instead, you kind of have this like volcanic gray accents where it's kind of a glossy gray. It looks black in the light here, but this is actually a dark gray, which is slightly different versus this gray color for the rest of the exterior. As you can see, the front fascia has the same kind of aero flaps here that are active, just like on the turbo model, but instead of the high gloss black, they're kind of like an unpainted gray plastic along with this kind of volcanic gray. You have full 360 camera on this model as well. I really like the integration of that front camera there. And then you can see the Porsche crest is colored, which I personally think looks better versus the Turbonite look where it's uncolored. Then these are the Matrix design full LED headlights with them actually on. It certainly, creates a very distinctive look. This one also has the optional HD matrix, so it really gives this car a super impressive light signature. Now, as we move around the side profile, I want to also mention the wheels. You can get this car with an off-road design package, which is kind of interesting because I don't really know a lot of people who would take their Cayenne off-roading, but this model, as you can see, has the upgraded 22-inch wheels, so they are the same diameter as the turbo that we just showed you. But these wheels are on slightly narrower tires. They're a 275 by 40 R22. It's a Pirelli P0. This is basically a summer tire. The rears are slightly narrower at 315 wide versus the 325. Again, you have this kind of volcanic gray finish here, which kind of pairs nicely with this gray as well for the exterior. It's a little bit of a lighter gray on the top portion, while this lower portion is kind of like a darker gray. And then dimensionally, the car is kind of the same. But overall, you can definitely tell that the base version is a little bit designed to be more of like a commuter luxury car, but at the same time, it still has a nicer shape. I personally like the look of this car, the silhouette, more versus the, its baby brother, the Macan EV. Now, in terms of availability, let's go ahead and get into that because there was a lot to unpack here with the rest of this video. This car has a lot of features and technology, but Porsche says if you're looking to get your hands on the new Cayenne Electric, they actually are available to order as we speak right now. And pricing has already been announced, although you're going to have to wait until probably late summer 2026 to actually take delivery because these are built in Germany. It's going to take time, of course, for those of you who want to custom order it to your heart's desire. But if you want this model here, the base electric, it's going to start at $109,000. The turbo model will start at $163,000. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but I also want you guys to remember The current Cayenne, the gas model with its 348 horsepower turbo V6 starts at around $89,000. The equivalent, I guess, of something like this would be the Cayenne 4e plug-in hybrid. That starts at around $101,000. So in reality, with the specs on that model, Porsche only charges around $8,000 more for the electric version. I also want you to keep in mind, if you're looking at the fully loaded turbo e-hybrid gas-powered Cayenne, that also starts at around $162,500. The fully electric Cayenne electric turbo starts at $163,000. So really Porsche has put a lot of value into this car with the amount of technology, the amount of performance. This is actually a relatively good deal, comparing the rest of the Porsche lineup. The Cayenne Turbo GT, the current king of the gas lineup, starts at like $210,000. And this car, at least the turbo model, is going to be actually faster than that gas model. So overall, there's a lot to unpack here, but Porsche, I think, has really, they're really trying to usher in a new era with this new 4th generation Cayenne. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my very detailed overview on both the Cayenne and the Cayenne Turbo. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.